In this video, we're going to talk about how to represent data using what we call a box and whisker plot. So before we can do that, we want to talk about what the measure of spread or variation means. And so what that is, it describes how widely the data values vary. And one of the first things we can look at is what's called a range. A range is the difference between the greatest value and the smallest value. Okay, so the smallest to the least. What is that range? Then we have what are called quartiles. Quartiles are the measure of positions that divide a data set arranged in ascending order into 4 groups, each containing a fourth, or you might argue a quarter, like 25% of the data. This creates what we call the 5-number summary, okay? And so right below this, you'll see a list of numbers so conveniently already arranged from least to greatest. So 2 numbers right off the bat that we can find, now that they're in least to greatest, is the minimum. So 25 is my minimum, and 54 is my maximum. So if I were to subtract those two, that would give me my range. Now from here, I'm going to find my median. We already know how to find median. It's that middle number. And we say this is part of quartile 2. Okay, so that's my third number summary. And then we're going to find the median in between the min and that median number, which is 36. So 36 is my first quartile. And then we'll find the third quartile in between the number after the median and my maximum, which is 49. So there's quartile 3. Okay. Now, so that would be my 5-number summary, the min, the 3 quartiles, and my maximum. And then we have what's called interquartile range, which just like a normal range, we are still going to find the difference. The difference between the upper and lower quartiles. So for example, in my 5-number summary above, my upper quartile was 49 and my lower quartile is 36. And if I were to find the difference of those two, I would get 13. So that would be my interquartile range. So right below it, you'll see our box and whisker plot, believe it or not, for that same exact data. So a box and whisker plot is the spread of data through their quartiles. That's a weird looking cute. There we go. And so you can see here's my minimum. There's my min. Here's my max. Again, this is all from that data that's above. Then right here you can see is my quartile 1 at 36. So Q1. My median was at Q2 is at 41, but is my second quartile. And then my third quartile was at 49 right here. Okay. So we can probably just transfer this over. So again, box and whisker is the spread of data through their quartiles. And then we also have what are called outliers. We've kind of talked about that already in class. So outliers are high or low, extremely high or extremely low values when compared to the rest of the data set. So this is right here, this is a new box and whisker plot, different data, but you can see what an outlier looks like in comparison to the rest of the spread of data. Okay, it's a clear point that sits out on the outside. So let's try one together where we're going to create our own box and whisker plot, and then we're going to actually type this in a really neat app that has a link there, that Staplet.com. So it says Selena sold boxes of donuts for 11 days. The number of boxes of donuts were the following. We want to find the 5-number summary, so the min, max, the 3 quartiles, my interquartile range, and identify any noticeable outliers. So the first thing I want to do is I want to list these numbers from least to greatest. So I would start with 14, and I know you guys are like, oh, do I really have to write all these numbers down? Yes, you do. It's simple. It's just time consuming. So here we go. We're almost done. 26, 28, 29, okay, 35. Okay, so right off the bat, I can tell that 14 is my minimum and 35 is my max. And then from here, I'm going to find my my median. So just using a different color here. Let me just pick something other than pink. Let's do green. So remember, I go, okay, knock a few off on the low, a few on the high, until I reach, okay, so my median is 21. So that is my quartile 2, is my median. And then from here, let me find a different color. Let's use this ugly green yellow color. So I find quartile 1 in between my min and the number before my median. So I would cross out 14, 16, I go 20, 17. Okay, so 17 here is my quartile 1. And I'll do the same on the other side. And 28 is quartile 3. Okay, so there's my 5-number summary. Now, it also asks me to calculate my interquartile range, which is my quartile 3, so 28, minus my quartile 1, which is 17. That gives me 11. So that is my IQR. And if we were to look at, do I have any outliers? Okay, you could maybe argue that 35 is an outlier. It's not too extreme though, so I wouldn't necessarily say 35 is an outlier. So maybe you argue that there aren't any outliers. So if you go to Stapplet.com, you are going to choose, because it brings you to a whole bunch of options, you're going to choose one quantitative variable and a single group. And you're going to type in all of those numbers here, and then you'll hit begin analysis. And what happens is it will most likely give you a dot plot. And if that's the case, you want to change your graph type to a box plot, which is the same thing as a box and whisker, and it will do it all for you. And look at how it summarizes all your data below here. I have my mean, which we were calculating a few days ago, tells me my min, my median, my maximum, my quartile 1 and quartile 3, okay? So all this information with a click of a button. And so you could sketch that right here under B. So I would have, what is it? What do we got? We got a minimum of 14, max of 35. And you want to just make sure you get those important numbers in there. So 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, there's my quartile 1. 18, 19, 20, 21. There's my quartile 2. And then quartile 3 is at 28. So 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. And I'm kind of just estimating here. I know there's not I didn't really leave you a whole lot of room. But that would be a quick sketch of my box and whisker plot. I'll fill this in so you can kind of see where it's at here. So answering the questions below, it says Selena sold more than 17 boxes what percent of the time? And so let's see. Let me grab a different color here. So more than 17 boxes was right here. And actually I'm going to flip back to my other picture. It's a lot easier. So more than 17 boxes. Here's 17 boxes. More than that is all the way over here. Remember we talked about a measure of spread or a box and whisker plot is dividing up your data into quartiles, right? So this is quartile 1, this is quartile 2, 3, and 4. So the areas in which she sold more than 17 boxes is actually 75% of the time, okay? Because it takes up 3 sections right here, 1, 2, 3. Now, part D says, well, what is the most number of boxes? I think that should say she sold, and that would be 35. 35. All right. So let's try another one, and this time we're gonna find all of our number summary and all that good stuff from Stapplet. Okay, and so what I'll do is I'm gonna copy and paste all of this into Stapplet right here, and you can see it pops out. There's my box and whisker plot. So my 5-number summary would be 30 is my min, 44 is my max. Now I can tell from this picture that my quartile 1 is in between 32 and 34, which is 33, or I can look to my box down here, it'll tell me. So 33 is quartile 1. My median is going to be 35, it even tells me down here. That would be quartile 2. And then my quartile 3 is at 38. And again, it tells me down here. So there's my 5-number summary right there. But it's also asking for my range, okay? So my range would be the smallest number, or I'm sorry, the biggest number, 44, minus the smallest one. So 44 minus 30, so my range is 14. My interquartile range is the highest quartile, so that would be 38 minus 33, my lower quartile, so 38 minus 33, that gives me an IQR of 5. And let's see, do I notice any outliers? I do not. There are no outliers. So I would say no outliers. And if you haven't already done so, I want you to take the box and whisker plot from the Stapplet app, and I want you to sketch it below here in part B. So pause the video and sketch that. So then in C, it says the manager of the store recorded more than 35 ounces. What percent of the time? So I'm going to go to my box and whisker plot and find 35. Now he wants to know how often do you sell more than that, which would be this entire section. So that would be one quartile and another, making up 50%. Whoops. So 50% of the time. So now what I'd like you guys to do is try one on your own, and you can use Stapplet. So enter in your data, and I want you to tell me my 5-number summary. So that's the what's my min, what's your max, quartile 1, quartile 2, and quartile 3. What is my range? What is my interquartile range? And are there any outliers? So when you guys plug in this information into Stapplet, this is what it should spit out to you. And so here I've got my 5-number summary. I have my minimum at 45. Quartile 1 is at 75. Your median is at 85, which is quartile 2. And then quartile 3 is at 89. Now what it doesn't calculate for you is your range. And we can do that by taking my maximum, which looks to be 94, and we'll subtract the minimum, which is 45. And that's going to give you, let's see, 89. Nope, that's not right. What am I saying? 49. There we go. That looks better. And then my interquartile range, we're going to take quartile 3, which is 89, and we'll subtract quartile 1, which is 75, and we'll get a difference of 14. I do notice, let's see, I'm going to make sure I got everything. So 5-number summary, my range, my IQR, got that. And then outliers, I do notice one, and that would be 45, and it's all by its lonesome. So an outlier is 45. And that's it. Make sure you guys sketch your box and whisker plot below here.